Heraclitus of Ephesus stands as one of the most enigmatic and influential figures in early Western philosophy. Born around 540 BCE in the Ionian city of Ephesus, he lived during a time of great intellectual ferment and political upheaval. His ideas about change, unity, and the underlying order of the cosmos challenge the prevailing views of his time and honestly continue to resonate in philosophical discourse today. This video explores the life, major works, and enduring legacy of Heraclitus, tracing his journey from aristocratic origins to the profound thinker known as the obscure. Heraclitus was born into an aristocratic family in Ephesus, a thriving city on the western coast of Asia Minor, which is now modern-day Turkey. Ephesus was a cultural and commercial hub famous for the temple of Artemis, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. During Heraclitus's lifetime, the city was under Persian rule but retained a degree of autonomy. This political backdrop, combined with the city's vibrant intellectual atmosphere, definitely shaped Heraclitus's worldview. Though some sources suggest he inherited the hereditary title of King of the Ionians, Heraclitus reportedly renounced this position in favor of his brother, choosing instead a life of philosophical inquiry. Known for his solitary and often melancholic disposition, he was critical of popular opinion and democratic governance, earning the nickname the Weeping Philosopher. His contemporaries found his ideas difficult to grasp, and his style was famously cryptic, leading to the moniker the Obscure. The period in which Heraclitus lived was marked by a shift from mythological explanations of the world to rational, naturalistic inquiry. The Ionian Enlightenment, centered in cities like Ephesus and Miletus, saw early philosophers such as Thales, Anaximander, and Anaximenes seeking natural principles behind the cosmos. Heraclitus's work emerged in this context, pushing the boundaries of thought by emphasizing change and the unity of opposites. Ionia's position as a crossroads of trade and culture exposed its inhabitants to, a wide variety of ideas and traditions. The Persian Empire's vast reach really facilitated the exchange of knowledge, enriching the intellectual landscape in remarkable ways. The Ionian philosophers before Heraclitus sought a fundamental principle, or arche, that explained the cosmos, often focusing on material substances like water or the indefinite, what they called the apeiron. Heraclitus, he diverged sharply from these material monists. He criticized predecessors like Anaximander for overlooking the dynamic and oppositional nature of reality, which is quite interesting. He also dismissed Pythagoras as a collector of superficial knowledge and rejected Xenophanes' anthropomorphic gods, advocating instead for a universal rational principle he called the logos. This logos was not merely a physical element, but an underlying order and reason governing all things. Heraclitus's philosophy, in fact, combined cosmology, ethics, and epistemology, emphasizing that understanding the logos was key to, grasping the nature of existence. Heraclitus's only known work, On Nature, has been lost to history, surviving only in fragments quoted by later authors. Tradition holds that he deposited this work in the temple of Artemis at Ephesus. The text was likely a collection of aphorisms and epigrams rather than a systematic treatise, reflecting Heraclitus's oracular style. Later philosophers such as Theophrastus described the work as disorganized and incomplete, possibly due to Heraclitus's melancholic temperament. The fragments we have today come from sources like Plato, Aristotle, Diogenes Laertius, and the Stoics, who preserved and interpreted his ideas. The surviving fragments reveal a thinker deeply concerned with the nature of change, the unity of opposites, and the rational order of the cosmos. His style is terse, metaphorical, and often paradoxical, making interpretation challenging but, also quite rewarding. The doctrine of flux. Heraclitus famously asserted that everything flows, panta re, emphasizing that change is, the fundamental nature of reality. His metaphor that you cannot step into the same river twice illustrates that while the river's identity persists, its waters are ever changing. For Heraclitus, stability is basically an illusion. Reality is a constant process of becoming. The unity of opposites. Contrary to viewing opposites as contradictory, Heraclitus argued they are interdependent and necessary for harmony. Life and death, day and night, war and peace, they all exist in a kind of dynamic balance. He famously stated, "War is the father of all and king of all," suggesting that conflict and strife drive transformation and order. The concept of the logos is, well, quite central here. The logos is the rational principle that governs the cosmos, an eternal and universal order that lies beneath what might seem like chaos on the surface. Heraclitus lamented that most people just fail to recognize the logos, living in ignorance of the deeper unity of existence. He urged that aligning oneself with this rational order is really the path to wisdom. Now, turning to views on knowledge and the soul. Heraclitus was, honestly, pretty skeptical about human knowledge. He emphasized how difficult it is, and pointed out the common failure to perceive the logos. He saw the soul as a kind of microcosm of the universe, capable of insight, but often clouded by, well, superficial perceptions. The soul's growth and understanding, he thought, really depend on recognizing the unity and flux that are inherent in reality. Heraclitus's ideas, were met with mixed reactions. His contemporaries often misunderstood or even dismissed his cryptic style and paradoxical claims. However, his influence grew over time, profoundly shaping later philosophical traditions. So Plato actually engaged quite a bit with Heraclitus's doctrine of flux, especially in his dialogue called Cratylus. But in the end, he rejected the idea that, well, everything is in constant change, and instead he favored his own theory of eternal forms. Now, Aristotle, on the other hand, criticized Heraclitus for, undermining the very possibility of knowledge by putting so much emphasis on change. Still, he did acknowledge the importance of Heraclitus's insights into opposites and dynamism. The Stoics embraced Heraclitus's concept of the logos, integrating it into their worldview of a rational, deterministic cosmos. They saw him as a precursor to their philosophy, adopting his ideas about unity and order. Heraclitus's legacy extends beyond ancient philosophy. Christian theologians like Augustine engaged with his concept of the logos, integrating it into Christian doctrine. Modern thinkers such as Hegel and Nietzsche drew on his ideas of dialectical change and becoming, and, contemporary philosophy, including existentialism and process thought, continues to find inspiration in his vision of a dynamic, interconnected reality. Heraclitus remains a towering figure in the history of philosophy, a thinker who challenged static views of reality and emphasized the ever-changing, interconnected nature of existence. His doctrines of flux, unity of opposites, and the logos offer a profound vision of the cosmos as a dynamic, rational whole. Though his writings survive only in fragments, their impact, you might say, echoes through millennia, shaping philosophical inquiry and cultural imagination alike. Heraclitus's call to recognize the underlying order amid change continues to inspire those who seek to understand the world and our place within it.